Mature content warning. On Logan's Joe Takes, strategic commentary may include strong language, heated opinions, classified references, time to call in the Joes. Opposing forces may attempt audio interference. Logan's Joe Takes. Mission begins now.
Yo, Joe. I'm Logan, the G.I. Joe Gamer. Welcome to Joe Takes 71. And this is going to kick off my Versus series where I'm going to take a single character, have him go up against a character of the opposing side, and I'm going to compare them up at the end of the show and see who stacks up better. Now, tonight we're looking at Grunt, and we're giving kind of an update to the Cobra Trooper as well, but not really, just a little bit. Because they Hasbro did something really cool, actually, and gave the Cobra Trooper a little twist, and we're gonna be taking a look at that. But as usual, we're gonna start by looking at the vintage Grunt, the 1982 Grunt with straight arms. Now, I recently acquired this figure, and you get what you pay for. I only paid like $20 for this figure, but his arms are glued together so they don't bend, and he had some recent repair work done on him. So when I tried to put his machine gun, his M16 in his hand, a piece of his thumb broke off a little bit. And I don't know if you can see that there, but I have it in the bag it came in. I put the little piece of thumb in there. You can see that right there. And I'm going to glue it back on eventually, but it looks like somebody took some putty. It's not even, I don't think it's really the original thumb or hand. And then just, sealed over it and did a repair job. I mean, they did okay. But, the arms don't bend. And this is definitely a replica helmet. It's not the original for sure. I mean, the color doesn't match. And I think the gun is the same plastic, so I'm guessing they're both replicas. But you get what you pay for. Like I said, I only picked it up $20 so you could see what the original Grunt looked like. And I always wanted to have one. I never had a Grunt, so it was kind of cool to do that. Now, I'm going to put him back in his little baggie right here because I don't want to damage this figure any further, and clearly it's pretty fragile. I put it on a battle stand, but you know, it seemed to creak and crack, and I was just like, no, I've had figures have their ankles break and stuff, and so that's just not something I wanted to do. Okay, moving on, we've got in 1983, Grunt came out in 92. He's actually #1 in the list of GI Joe American hero figures. He came out. That was their first one. He was also the poster child for the Marvel Comics. He was up in the corner even after Footloose came out. The other infantry trooper, who's right back there on my mantle, right there next. If I can do it right, right? Yes, right there next to Law and Order on my mantle over there. And Blowtorch is over there too, the new ones. Um, so I'll be taking a look at them too eventually. But you know, in 1983, they brought out Run Again and Swivel Arm Battle Grip, which is what I was actually looking for because I'd rather have the Swivel Arm Battle Grip Joes than I would the Cobras. And you know, it's kind of cool. It's the same figure basically, just with Swivel Arm Battle Grip. Little changes here and there, but not much. It was a different figure technically, so they call it version 1.5. And then they also that same year they brought out one of that same mold, but in beige or tan, and it had to come with the Falcon glider. It was a hang glider, and basically it was a Desert Trooper Grunt, which was really cool. I'm glad they did that. I don't have that one. I have the Desert Trooper Grunt that came with the Vamp Mark II in '84, but I don't have the Grunt, which would be cool. I wish they'd have done that with all of them, actually. That would have been pretty cool. But in 1991, they brought out this here Grunt, and he came with this big old device that shoots a missile and everything. And I have that somewhere, but I got a big old bag of those things that I put in the bag and went, yeah, okay, here we go. Maybe kids liked them, but by that time I was just hitting my 20s and didn't really care about that kind of stuff. And eventually I'll separate them and put it back in his bag with him, but I haven't gotten around to it just yet. Now, the 90s was a weird time. I mean, he's got bright yellow pants, and yeah, the shirt's pretty cool. I don't think that flat top suits Grunt at all. Let me see if I can get a clearer picture of him. But it is what it is. And this helmet basically looks like Hawk's helmet, just redone. And it's in a really soft plastic. They tried to, fix things and make things better. And it's less brittle, but it stays on the head okay. It's one of the few that do. But it doesn't really say Grunt. I mean, I like the dog tags and the black T-shirt underneath. And there are certain things about this figure that I really like. I do like this big old gun he came with too. It's pretty cool. So in 1991, they had a second vintage Grunt. Technically, I mean, technically it would be Grunt version 4, but that's because they had 1.5 or version 3 is what they call it. Because they had 1.5 with the swivel arm battle grip of the original, and then that same figure came out in tan with the Falcon glider. And I never had that as a kid. I started collecting in '85, and those things were way off the shelves by then. But I was around when this came out, and I managed to pick up my very first Grunt, and that would be this guy right here. Now, in the early 2000s, they brought out what they called, they had G.I. Joe versus Cobra, and then the next year they had something they called Spike Race. And what they did was they paired them up, and they put them in 2-packs, and Grunt came in a 2-pack with Destro. He came with a Battle Blitz too, a vehicle, which I wanted, and I still do. It was a pretty cool little tank Jeep type combination thing. It was pretty cool. Came with a bunch of accessories. He comes with a standard pistol, looks like Hawk's gun, maybe a little smaller. And then you'll have to be the judge for yourself. He came in a disguise to make him look like the Cobra Claws, which was the heavy infantry trooper at the time for Cobra. And this is what they did. Hey, Jess, it's good to see you. We got Cool Gamer in the house too. Sorry, Cool Gamer. I meant to say hi to you. It's good to see you. Just Jess popping in and reminding me to say hello. So we go. Jess is here. Thank you for being here, Jess. But yeah, this is what they did as a disguise. They gave him a shield with a Cobra symbol on it, which I don't believe any of the Cobra claws ever came with a shield. But, you know, other ones did, like Alley Viper, and it's a different shield altogether. I don't know if any Cobras came with that shield. Or yeah, maybe the gun. I mean, he's got a nice little machine gun, which is pretty cool. Now, I am going to take these off of him, and I am going to show you how this disguise works. Because this is underneath all this stuff is a standard Grunt figure. But standing next to a Cobra Claws, all in the red uniform like they normally do, with the helmet and all the gear, he stands out for sure. But okay, we'll take his gauntlets off and we'll show you. He's got gauntlets, and then he has these shin guards that come off. They're just little. They just clip on. Really, they're really soft plastic, so they clip on really nice. But you know, that's all they do. And then I have to admit, the mask is pretty cool. But it looks like he went to Spirit Halloween and picked up a costume to go and infiltrate Cobra in. And I don't think this figure succeeds in being a success. There were some that had pretty good disguises. This wasn't one of them, but this was your standard Grunt. Same one came with two different versions of the Blitz, the Battle Blitz vehicle, and so you know, there he is, the 2003 Grunt, yeah. And so yeah, you can take him off the battle. So I'm gonna just slide him over here with all his accessories. It's not a bad figure. They had a new. They tried to go with a newer O-ring design. You know, they have the swivel arm, battle grip, and all that still, but the joints are a little different. But let me look at some of them are just, yeah, it just folds too far back. Everything else was fairly similar for the most part, but they went with some pretty weird designs choices in that time period for G.I. Joe. Now, they came out in that period. Valor versus Venom came out after that, and they came out with a different style of Grunt that was a little different variation, and you know, he was cool and all, but I never got that one. They brought out so many figures for Valor versus Venom that it was insane, and I have a bunch of them, but I never got a Grunt. He's just double jointed. There you go. Is the mask like a cat? It sort of looks like a cat. It's from the Cobra Claws figure, which a Claws stood for Cobra Light Armor Weapon System. So yeah, but yeah, it kind of looks like a cat. I don't know if I can give you a better look at it, Jess. It's just, we get right up by the camera, maybe if it'll focus. And yeah, I should have brought out the Cobra Claws so you can see the difference, but it wasn't all that great. Now, in 2005, he came out with two different versions on the 25th anniversary style figures, which I liked. A lot of people don't, but I did. They were on the road to what became Classified and retro, the Walmart retro line, which came out in the early 2020s. But he came out with two different officers packs, which is weird because he's not an officer. He started out as a corporal and then became a sergeant, which is an NCO, a non-commissioned officer. So technically, in that respect, he was an officer. Now in the pack he came with that I bought, he came with Colonel Hawk, a version of Colonel Hawk, which was pretty cool. It had a helmet with a Colonel symbol on it, which was really cool. And I think Cutter. That might have been in the Navy pack. I don't know, because I got a Navy pack too. I think Cutter was in the Navy pack. I don't remember what was the other one that came with. It was probably Duke. Yeah, it was a Duke. So you had Duke, Hawk, and Grunt, and they all look almost the same. And the only thing they did for this freaking Grunt to make him look different was they put a little stubble on his face, which I thought was a little ridiculous because Grunt was like the most clean-shaven Joe ever. He was spit and polish. And they had him come with an Uzi, which is Steeler's weapon. I think they mixed him up with Steeler. I really do. Because Steeler would have a 5 o'clock shadow all the time, and so Clutch and Breaker would grow, and Clutch would grow full beards and stuff. So, but yeah, and he's got he's got a combat knife that slides real easily. Just says hi, Tiger. And you know, it's not a bad little combat knife. I don't know if you heard that, Jess, but Tiger says hi. And he comes with a standard sidearm. It's pretty much the same as that other pistol. Cool Gamer says hello also as he pops in with his second channel.
Hi, Cool Gamer.
And you know, I did like this figure, and I was glad because I didn't have a modern Grunt, but it had the soft plastic type helmet, but this fits on him really snug. And that was the only way you could get Grunt, was in a 3-pack with 2 other Joes. And then the next year they brought out another one with him that looked a little different with 2 other Joes, full sergeants in that pack too, by the way. Maybe that's what they were going for when they meant officers, but you know, I don't know. And then in let me see, it was in the 2020s if I remember rightly. Let's see if there's a date on this, because I have the carded version of this figure, because I was able to get some things, and there it is. 2021. In 2021, they brought out this version of Grunt, which looked more like the original. And he had a combat knife up here, and that comes out, but it's a pain in the butt to put it in there, so I'm not taking that out. Next, standard sidearms. So he had a combat knife in the sidearm, and for an infantry trooper, that was pretty cool. He also came with an M16, which I have put away with a bunch of other stuff. And so there he is. There's his M16, and there's his sidearm, his knife, and his helmet, and he came with a backpack. Now, the original one came with a backpack too. Now, this would be a perfect carded figure if it hadn't fallen off the wall, and it's got a little bit of damage there, but it's still sealed. And this is a nice looking carded figure, and I got 2 of each of these, the retro one, which was cool. I had a lot of fun collecting these. I wish they hadn't stopped making them, because I know they were doing classified, and it was just classified one out, and that's cool, because I only wanted to collect one, to be honest. Now, before I get into the classified version of Grunt, because I do have that, which if anybody's seen any of my movie clips, you've seen that. You've seen Grunt. But I'm going to go ahead and take a look at these 2 Cobras, because we got Grunt versus Valkyrie. Cobra Valkyries, right? Can't have an episode without showing these Valkyries off. And then at the end, I will compare them up and see who's got the best equipment, you know, how they stack up for the infantry trooper for G.I. Joe and Cobra. Now, the Valkyrie 2-pack came with these 2 lovely ladies right here. And I thought that was a cool idea to have female troopers. Now, they've done this before, and I have a female Cobra officer, and it wasn't the first time. They have a few of them that were female Cobra troopers out. And they'll only have the other one that's a female Cobra officer, but I covered that in my Cobra officer video, and my Viper video, and more than one video. So my female Cobra officer, I've definitely shown off many times. So, but you know, they're basically the same figure when it comes right down to it. They just gave them a different color loadout. You can choose which one you want to be the officer. Now on the box art, it's the one with the tan web gear and stuff. So you know, they both have an armband that signifies that they've reached that level of they're not just your basic trooper. The Cobra Island Cobra Trooper came with an armband that was really cool. And then the Cobra Infantry, when it came out, the standard release did not have one of those. So that's a step above, so you can make the Cobra Trooper on the path to being an officer. So both of these have the Cobra Trooper badge, but then when you, to become a Cobra officer, but then when you actually make Cobra officer, you get a helmet like this with a badge on it now, which I thought was really cool. Help me forget about the real world, please. Don't care what you say. Do make something up. I'm working on it, Jess. I'm talking. Yeah. But yeah, I will try, Jess, and I'm glad. I don't want to think of the real world either. So that's why I'm doing a Joe take. Oh my goodness, if I can find a big hole on this battle span, I will get you back on here. Yeah, you're going to just mess up the other one. Or are these battle stands? These are generic battle stands. I wish every one of these came with a battle stand, but only the retro line comes with battle stands, which I think is interesting. Now, they came with a pretty cool loadout. They've got a rifle and a submachine gun, which I've got attached to the backpack right now on this one. But I got the submachine gun in the Cobra Trooper's hands, so you can see both. Just different colored loadout. That was all. And they each come with 2 sidearms. We're going to be taking a look at these weapons and stuff a little later. And a combat knife. So for a trooper, my rules are combat knife, sidearm. That's the rules. That's standard issue. And so they've got that. So we're going to get back to these Cobra troopers. They're not Vipers, they're troopers. But they're, I only have a distinction. Larry Hama, who wrote the G.I. Joe comic, did not. Make your fingers talk to each other and stuff. Okay. Okay. Whatever, Jess. I'm in a good mood, so we're gonna look at some stuff. Now these that came with the Valkyrie set are blast effects, and again, I'll pop some of these out and we'll see them on the guns and stuff and see how this stacks up when we look at those in a bit. Now we're gonna look at the box art for the Cobra Valkyries, and then we'll get to Grunt, because this is basically his video this is who I'm pitting him up against, the Cobra Valkyries. Now I love this set, not just because it's a couple of Cobra ladies, which they need more of, but because it's a really badass set. It's number 68 in the series, and it has badass card art on box art on the side. My reaction made you smile at least. Okay, all right. And it shows the loadout on the back, and it shows arm badge, and they also came with another head with an extra helmet. And I use this when I make them a pilot. When I make them the Cobra pilot, I put this head on, which is kind of cool. So there it is. That's the Valkyrie box, and just digging on that box all right there. Okay, I keep wanting to call it card art because that's what they were. Okay, I'm gonna set these gals over here, and we're gonna take a look at what was in the box a little bit. They came out in the era where they came with a foot locker, which I thought was cool. Number of the 68, and then the Cobra Valkyries. That would have been cool if they were 69, but that's just my bit. And then I love the interior color art on the side, but the interior had them with black and white in the box that the figures actually sit in. When you put them away, they just sit right down in here in the box, and you just slide it back in. And I thought these were brilliant. Okay. And at first I was like, man, no window packaging. I was on the bandwagon with everybody else. But when I got used to those, I was like, man, I like these a lot. And then they went back to the window packaging because everybody complaining too much. All right. Let's get to the Joe of the night, and that would be Grunt, the classified version. Now, he's got a really cool loadout, and like I said, we're going to be comparing the Valkyries loadout to Grunt's loadout here at the end. But he stacks up pretty well to the original Grunt. So I think it's a really, really nice and really cool update. No doubt, do a retro version of him, as they'll probably do with all the original 13 shows. That is kind of neat. I thought so. But yeah, he's got your combat knife, and he's got the sidearm over here. He's got a side draw, so you do Wild Bill Hickok style, And then he's got a standard G.I. Joe cartoon gun, and then he has an M16, which is what he originally came with, which was badass. Like I said, we'll check that out. We'll check the loadout here at the end after we go through the character. He also came with an extra head. I wish it had been a helmet instead of a head, but you have to pop it off and swap it out for the Steel Brigade, Steel Delta, Steel Corps is what they call it now. It used to be called Steel Brigade, but that got bought up by Valkyries. So the Valkyries line of military action figures has the Steel Brigade. Well, they're the Steel Corps, and it's the same, and it looks pretty cool. And, it's nice that you can make him a generic infantry trooper. I think that's really cool. I'm glad they did that. Now, for his box art and stuff, he came out around the same time. He was number 87, so he came out slightly after they did. And he's got really good box art there. Front of it, it's a picture of the action figure, and the box art right there, which is cool. He's Robert Grunt Graves. And then you got this silly stuff on the side over here that nobody cares about. Then you got that scanner eye information that never worked, and then that image of him there, and then his loadout on the back, which he's got some cool stuff that may give him an edge, but we'll see. Well, I'm going to let you guys decide. But yeah, he was fortunate enough to have a figure come out with a Foot Locker, Robert Grunt Graves, and he's number 87 in the series. Okay. Now, came with one of those boxes too. Like I said, in the same time period, it pretty much came out right when they were doing it like that, and I thought that was great because I love these. These are awesome, and I wish they still did them, but they don't. And that's how that is. Okay, so like I said, the Cobra Valkyries are just kind of an update to my Cobra Trooper video. Just check that out. Also, Cobra Officer, check that one out, and Viper, who excelled me through the ranks from a Cobra Officer to the character that she is in Python Patrol. Also, she originally came with basically a Stinger Jeep, which is the van, a modern variation, and was called Rattler, which was called a Rattler, which is a Rattler's their jet, so I don't know why they named the Jeep a Rattler, but that's what they did. But when they brought her out for the classified line, they made her a Python Patrol figure, and she looked good with the skull mask and everything. And yes, I like that character a lot, and detailed her. And I'm detailing. She's one of the main villains in my G.I. Joe Lady Bloodright movie, so which I'm still putting together. I still got to put the ending together, but I got a lot I still have to do. Well, I'm having fun with that, and okay, something happened over there. Wait, so the Grunt and Valkyrie are both Cobra? No, Grunt is G.I. Joe, and the Valkyries are Cobra, and that's why this is G.I. Joe versus Cobra. This is the versus night, and we're doing the G.I. Joe Infantry Trooper versus the Cobra Infantry Trooper, but with my little twist because I like the Valkyries. But I've already done a Cobra Trooper video, so that's why I just wanted to kind of update the Cobra Trooper video because I didn't have the Valkyries when I made that video. So Cobra Troopers I've already done. Like I said, please check that. Those two actually, Cobra Trooper and Cobra Officer, I have 2 videos on them. They're troop builders, and I went through looking at all those figures. So I didn't think it was necessary to show them again for a third time. And some of those, like I said, I've shown in other videos, like that female Cobra Officer. But we're talking about the basic infantry, so I didn't want to focus on that. I wanted to focus on the infantry side of both of these characters. Now, there is no real character for the Cobra infantry, but Grunt, who was the G.I. Joe infantry trooper, which they based the G.I. Joe green shirts off of, which are G.I. Joe infantry soldiers, he's a character. He had a full-on file card, and he has a personality. And we're going to start by taking a look at his file card video, and then I'm going to play the music video, which I saved for after because I didn't want to give away a spoiler with the female troopers. So you'll see what I mean when I play both. So I'm going to play them back to back. Here is From the Hill, codename Grunt, and then I've got Red versus Blue, and that is the name of the song that I wrote for this video. So here you go.
G.I. Joe is the code name for America's daring, highly trained special mission force. Its purpose, to defend human freedom against Cobra, a ruthless terrorist organization determined to rule the world. Yo, Joe! Code name! Grunt. Infantry squad leader! File name! Robert W. Graves, Gray, E6 Staff Sergeant, U.S. Army. Birthplace, Columbus, Ohio. Primary specialty, infantry squad leader. Secondary specialty, small arms armor. Artillery coordinator, Falcon glider pilot. Small arms repairman. Graduated. effectively achieve the mission objective. Grunt is a highly motivated, systematic individual. He's a stand-up guy who doesn't blow his cool in a firefight. Grunt's a stand-up kind of guy who knows to keep his head down during a firefight. As squad leader, Grunt is always ready to guard the front lines and support his teammates. It's up to him to take the point and avoid bad situations. From General Hawk's file, my first choice is platoon squad leader. Grunt has proven his talents on the battlefield. He knows when to advance and when to duck and keep his head down in a firefight. The troops trust him to maintain composure and lead them through bad situations. He's always ready to take the point and volunteers for every mission Duke has to offer. I consider the man as the backbone of what every infantry trooper should strive to be. I didn't want any part of the business world. Give me a bunch of guys who are always there for you when the chips are down and Cobra is breathing down your neck. You have to lead your troops by setting the example right on the battlefield, not by barking out orders from behind them!
Sparks all flew. You got Josie in red and Cobra dressed in blue. Grunt from Ohio, steady with his aim. Come under fire, playing Cobra's game. The Valkyries march, helmets shining bright, red visors glowing in the firelight. He's got his boots, they got their style. Soldiers of Cobra come in single file. Women know that won't do. It's bigger than that. It's red versus blue, rifles in hand, locked in a rhythm all across the land. One's fighting for freedom, one's fighting for might, but they both look good in the firelight. She shouts her orders, he don't break stride. Two leaders clashing on the battlefield side. Bullets sing jazz and the mortars boom like a nightclub brawl with a little more doom. Yeah, hey Valkyrie, you're tough, I confess, but it's hard to keep shooting when you look that fresh. Boy, don't flatter, you're still my foe, but maybe after the battle we'll see where it goes. Red versus blue, sparks in the fight, trading shots by day, stealing hearts at night. It's Cobra Command and Joe's own crew, but love don't care, it's red versus The gunfire fades, the smoke rolls away. Grunt and the Valkyrie got nothing left to say, but she lowers her visor, he lowers his gun. Red versus blue might have just begun. Yeah, red versus blue.
Now, like I said, I did a little fun with that one. I had a little fun with it and had the Baroness turn out to be the Cobra Valkyrie in disguise at the end of that one. And it's every guy's fantasy that, you know, end up with the Baroness, but, you know, any G.I. Joe guy. Let's just put it that way. So yeah, I had fun with that. That would never happen. That's a fantasy. But now what happens on Joe Takes video with the figures at the end? That's a possibility. It also has its own little twist, and I had some fun with that. Which I'll play right before the ending. But right now we're going to talk about Grunt and the Cobra Troopers a little bit. I've already gone into depth about the Cobra Troopers. Did she kiss a Joe? Yeah. You missed the end of that video. You have to watch Red versus Blue again. It's a great song. If you like big band, and I had a lot of fun making it. It's different. I hadn't made any G.I. Joe song that had big band, and I thought it was just fun and just messing around, you know. So the Cobra Troopers, I'm going to say a little bit about the female Cobra Troopers. Now, in the comics, they had a story arc where, for a while there, Cobra Commander only had female Cobra Troopers around him. So we know where his thoughts were lying in that time period. But you know, now in the cartoon, they had quite a few episodes. I'll wait for the motorcycle to go by. I saw it but I thought it was some Cobra guy. No, that was Grunt. That was the original G.I. Joe infantry trooper. They had an episode called Spell of the Siren. That's really good in the first season of the Sunbow series back from 1985. And if you haven't seen it and you like G.I. Joe, just check it out, because in that, Baroness got a hold of a conch shell that when she blew into it, it blew out the spell of the siren and blew out. And it basically charmed any male who heard it. And so all the male Joes became her slaves, basically. Any Joe who heard it. And so only the female Joes were able to step up and fight them. And so she had a bunch of female Cobra Troopers around her because, you know, the other ones were just, you know, they were out doing what she wanted. But that's where they had a blonde Cobra Trooper that I eventually turned her into Layla, a Baroness's right-hand gal, who later became Viper in my head canon. Now, in the cartoon, they had that female Cobra Trooper in another episode that was blonde like that, called Lasers in the Night. It was a quick hit episode where she was hitting on Destro, and Destro was kind of responding, and Baroness got all jealous, and it was kind of funny. So I don't think that was Layla. Now, Layla only made one appearance in the cartoon, and that was in the episode. It was a two-part episode called Worlds Without End. So technically, she made two. She was in both episodes, and she was Baroness's right-hand gal. And she said, "You know what to do, Layla." And that's the only time I think her name was mentioned. But she was Baroness's Cobra officer, her number 2. And that's who became Viper to me. Now, we're comparing the female Cobra Trooper to Grunt, who in the comics didn't really, he had a good story arc, but he didn't really have any serious issues that were about him. I think like one maybe, where him and Hawk infiltrated a right-wing military group. I'm not sure if you remember any episodes of Voltron, but I had a dream of it as a kid, and something in my dream happened in the next episode I watched. It was weird, like a premonition. Yeah, but you got to remember Voltron. I loved it, and I have it all on DVD. But it was pretty predictable. Form Blazing Sword, story over. All right, let's go. I love that show. Don't get me wrong. But Grunt in the cartoon, he had even less than in the comic book. He made a few appearances here and there. He wasn't in any episodes other than that he got to stand out as a character, other than Worlds Without End. Now, in that, Baroness had the Baroness from the other dimension had a thing with his buddy Steeler. And so that's kind of what led me to this whole thing with the Baroness and Grunt. I thought it was cool. Now, Steeler is actually, they've got a classified figure coming out in a 2-pack with Short Fuse, which was the first 1982 character I got when I was collecting G.I. Joe. So that's cool for me, and I never had Steeler until years later. So that's gonna be fun for me, and that's getting close to all of the 1982 characters that came out. So the OG first year Joes. I think they're down. After that, I think they're down to like 3: Flash, Grunt, and Zap. I'm pretty sure. Not Grunt. Grand Slam. Grunt and Grand Slam. Yeah, because they already had Grunt. We're looking at it. Now, Grunt in the comic book. He was there. I mean, like I said, he was the poster child for G.I. Joe. He was in the Marvel Comics corner on the cover of almost every issue for the first 100 issues. Issue 19 had Scarlet with a helmet and looked really cool in the corner, and then issue 100 had Cobra Commander. But I'm pretty sure up to that point, it was pretty much all Grunt. There's maybe some here and there that didn't. But yeah. He basically he was their poster child even after Footloose came out, and like I said, I'll have to do a dedicated video on Footloose and Blowtorch and Law and Order back there. I got some new figures. I even got Heavy Duty behind me now, so got some cool figures that I can look at, but and talk about. But here we're talking Grunt now. Eventually, in the comic book, he served his time as a Joe. And he left the service and went and got a college degree in electronics and got a career in electronics. Now, then years later, when Larry Hama started writing the story again, they encountered Grunt again, and he had become a U.S. Senator, which I thought was really cool. Now, in that, he was kind of disillusioned with the whole political process to a certain extent. And I personally, plus he got kidnapped. Joe's had to go rescue him. And his wife, who was a former soldier, helped him out. It was pretty cool. And his wife's name was Lola, so she was cool. And she was a former Airborne Ranger, like him, and so it was pretty cool. Yeah, he's a Ranger. Most Joes were at the time, and most Joes still are Army Rangers. So, in my head canon, where I place Grunt is he's been in the private sector. He's gone out there. He's made his money doing electronics. With his electronics degree, he became a U.S. Senator. He tried that out, but he never anywhere did he feel at home other than with his buddies in G.I. Joe. And so, in my head canon, he came back to the Joes to serve another tour, and naturally, because of his status as an OG and as a really stand-up trooper, he's back in the Joes. Plus, he kept in shape and everything over the years because he's a stand-up trooper. All right, so I say he's a sergeant, maybe approaching staff sergeant. He started out as a specialist or corporal, probably a corporal because he was working up the ranks to become a squad leader, which eventually, when this figure came out, he was a sergeant, if I remember correctly. Let me double check my file cards, because I can do that real quick. I got them all just right here. G.I. Joe file cards. Where are my G.I. Joe file cards? G.I. Joe file cards. There you go. I got to be faster than that, don't I? And let's see, Grunt version 3 was E5, just like I thought. So I was correct. Grunt's E5. So that makes him a standard sergeant. This is when he came back to the Joes. Okay. Now, I don't think Larry Hama ever had that character, that version of the character in the storyline. And he never had Grunt come back. Grunt became a U.S. Senator and, had a wife and all that. For me, I don't think Grunt would have ever been fulfilled in the private sector. And because he was, when his buddies showed up, he was right there with him. He was still a stand-up dude, picking up a gun and just soldiering it out with his buddies, even as a U.S. Senator. So it was pretty cool. It was nice to see. And, I feature him in my movie. And if you've seen the clips, so I'm not going to spoil it. But as for the character, let's check out the loadout, okay? Now, for the Cobra For the Cobra Trooper, we've got the combat knife. Okay. Here's her combat knife. You just pull it right out of the little sheath right here. And she's got this standard combat knife. Grunt has his combat knife in the same position, oddly enough. Now, there's his knife, and that's the combat knife that he has. And we're going to put them right next to each other and tell me that I think Grunt wins it on this one. Grunt's the one at the top. So it was the one where the evil prince like chained the female team member at the bottom of the pool that happened in my dream. Oh, really? Wow. All right, so we're gonna put Grunt's knife back, his combat knife right back. I'm gonna put Valkyrie's knife back, and then we're gonna check out their primary weapon, as it were. And for Grunt, that's the M16. This is his primary weapon. That's just your standard M16. Got the clip, the magazine, not a clip, that pops right out. And this is one of your more modern rifles. It even has a scope, a little mini scope on it, probably with a laser sight. Cool. I thought so. Now, primary weapon for the Cobra. The loadout here is a standard kind of a oversized laser pistol with a sight on it, a scope. So, and yeah, you got the magazine that pops out and pops right back in. So that's cool too. And here we go. If I can show them off here. Yeah. So Grunt. I would say Grunt wins it with the M16. Far superior to the Cobra piece of junk weapon that we see in the cartoon. All right, so on that score, Grunt wins with the combat knife and the primary weapon. Now, Cobra has a rifle, and it comes with, much similar to the grenade, the M16, but it also comes with a grenade launcher. Has the magazine that pops out, pops back in, and nice stock. So they can adjust it, adjustable stock. I like that. They figure the toy itself isn't adjustable, but yeah. And let me see, where's her backpack? Is still on, or I'll show them all. The Cobra Valkyrie backpack, Grunt's backpack, and so he's got a heavier pack, but yeah. The ladies pack better. Okay, I'll give it that. Okay. So the pack goes to, I would say, goes to Cobra. And I would say from this machine gun with the grenade launcher combo and Grunt's primary laser rifle as their heavier weapon, I would say the Cobras win that one. Check that out. I mean, he doesn't have a grenade launcher, and it's just a standard laser rifle, which is a heavy weapon, but nothing like what Cobra's got there. That's a badass machine gun. I'd say stacking it up against the M16, it locks that down too. This is a good gun. Whereas this is the cheap laser rifle. Snow Job came with one of these originally, and they turned it into a laser rifle for the cartoon. I think it was originally a laser rifle for him too, but he was a sniper, and they never gave him a sniper rifle, and that was a little disappointing originally. More powerful, I guess. I do know some military stuff, yes. And also with a grenade launcher, that gives the Cobra the edge on that too. So it doesn't have any grenades at all. So Cobra's got grenades, okay? Now let's take a look at the sidearm. Grunt's got the side mounted draw, and standard 9mm type weapon. Okay, Cobra has two. She got one over here, quick draw. That's no 9mm. That's gonna put a hole right through Grunt's armor right there. Okay, now she got a second one, same draw system. So So she can pull it out. She can have a pistol in each hand if she wants to. It's the same gun, but Cobra has 2, and Grunt only has 1. Now, what does that say? Nothing. All comes down to who's a better shot when you're down to your sidearm. If we hadn't become obsessed with guns for a few years, I would not know what the fuck you're talking about. That's okay. I'm faking it pretty well. I mean, I know quite a bit about guns, but not enough. I've never owned a gun, and I would, you know, that's something I wouldn't mind getting into, but I've never really had them, to be honest. Okay. Now, that's Cobra's loadout. Okay. Now they've got this pilot's helmet with its own breathing system, so they can they can withstand. It's got a gas mask on it, so even if they were gassed, they would be fine. Grunt maybe needs backpack. You'd have to pull it out. So this is there's no gas mask in this. This is just your standard steel core trooper's helmet. So Cobra's got the edge on that too. Now we'll put front sidearm back. Now, here's what may give Grunt the edge. Hands down, overall, I think Cobra weaponry-wise has the edge. That's the way I see it. But what gives him the edge here is right here. He's got this little handheld device. Now, this could call in a drone strike. It could call it. Don't see anything like this for the Cobra. So technological edge goes to Grunt. He's got this. It's basically a tablet. Now you can pop this sucker off from his vest, and he's got a little tablet to hold, and it's pretty cool with just one. Yeah, they are like Pringles or Cats. You aren't happy with just one, right? And yeah, it's got a little readout, and it's got some pretty cool stuff going on. As far as I'm concerned, technology-wise, Grunt has the edge. Okay, so in your opinion, after I've showed you all this stuff and given my opinion, who do you think has the overall edge? And after you answer, I will say who I think is the overall edge on who's got the better gear. Grunt has better training too. I'll give him that. Grunt's an airborne ranger. He's got advanced infantry training. Cobra troopers don't have advanced infantry training. They are the bottom of the barrel. I would say one step above a Viper, maybe a little bit of training compared to the standard Cobra Viper. A lot of people see them as the bottom of the barrel and the Viper's a step up. But it says right on the Viper's file card that they are the bottom of the barrel. They are the first thing. Now, Larry Hama sees them as exactly the same. Cobra Trooper, Cobra Viper, same, just different uniform. Me, I see it as a slight distinction. The Trooper is a distinction and a step above a Cobra Viper. But that's just my opinion. Just one. So, what you got? What you thinking there, Jess? Cool Gamer, if you want to answer. He said, I don't know, I guess Cobra has a bigger weapon, but not as well trained as Joe's, right? And I don't know, does the technology give Grunt the edge? I think it might. Just maybe. Training-wise, Grunt definitely has the edge. Weaponry-wise, Grunt has the edge. Excuse me for just a second. I'm going to put on a video and I'll...
The sparks all flew. You got Josie in red and Cobra dressed in blue. Grunt from Ohio, steady with his aim. Come under fire, playing Cobra's game. The Valkyries march, helmets shining bright, red visors glowing in the firelight. He's got his boots, they got their style. Soldiers of Cobra coming single file. Versus women, no, that won't do. and you look that fresh. Boy, don't flatter, you're still my foe, but maybe after the battle we'll see where it goes. Red versus blue, sparks in the fight, trading shots by day, stealing hearts at night. It's Cobra Command and Joe's own crew, but love don't care, it's red versus
All right, sorry about that. I got a call from my mom, and I have to stop and take care of that. But I agree, Jess. I think Grunt has the edge. Now, I'm going to tell you what offsets this. Okay, Grunt is one. Cobra Troopers are many. Yeah, Grunt has Joe's to back him up too, but face off 1-to-1. Cobra Troopers over Grunt, numbers are going to give them the edge, just like they would give anybody the edge. But there are almost always more Cobras than Joes. So to me, that's kind of what gives them the edge. But one-on-one, Grunt's going to take them down. And maybe even 2 to 6-on-1, Grunt's going to take them down. But when you're talking about Cobra Troopers, you're going to have 12, 20. You never know. But yes, character, Grunt over the Cobra Trooper. Grunt's got more training, even with not as good of weapons as Cobra's got the loadout. I think Grunt's gonna win. But that's just my opinion, and that's my take on G.I. Joe Grunt and him versus Valkyries. And on that note, my friends, I'm going to have to take off here a little bit. The Valkyries clones, no, they're just troopers. Oh, I did want to share one thing before I go. Now, in my G.I. Joe Lady Bloodright, there's a scene where I have a sniper rifle in this character's hand, because the Cobra Trooper, the Cobra Trooper originally came with a Dragunov sniper rifle. They came with the AK-47, the Cobra Officer, but the Cobra Officer has all the training the Trooper does. So, this particular character in my story, it was a sniper. And they used that gun to effect and took a Joe down so that they could, something bad happened to the Joe. So, let's just put it that way. Now, I put their helmet on backwards like this so that they could have the sun out of their eyes while they were taking their shot. And I thought it looked really cool. I did this by accident. And I was like, man, that looks really cool for them to take a sniper shot. And that's what gave me the idea for that whole scene, actually. You weren't allowed to go till you said yes? Well, my Joe takes are usually about an hour, and that's where we're at. We're at an hour. No, Jess, like I said, I got things going on that just suddenly hit me. And I give my Joe take, and I'm gonna take off here. But one last comparison: Joe versus Cobra, Grunt versus the Valkyries. If you saw the on Joe takes there, you saw at the end where him and Gung Ho's cameo, where they were going out on a date with the two Cobras. No, that's just me being funny. And as far as an update goes, for Grunt and the original, outstanding Cobra for Hasbro. Outstanding Hasbro. I'm gonna call them Cobra. But outstanding update on the Cobra Troopers and on Grunt. Yeah, I know. I'm sorry you're not doing good, Chess. I really am. And I wish I were staying longer tonight, but that's I'm not able to do that tonight. Now next week, I'll talk a little bit more, Jess, but then I'm going to have to go. But next week on Joe Takes, I'm doing a Joe Takes reissue. Yeah, my family, yes, that's very true, Jess. My family comes first always, but there's that's not it tonight, really. I mean, I talked to my mom already, and I took care of that, hopefully. But I've talked to her twice today. She doesn't even remember the first time we talked, but that's just life. That's where I'm at with that. Yeah, but next week I'm doing a Joe Takes reissue, where I look at the 12th Joe Take, the Firefly, and I remade the video, and it's Logan's Joe Takes reissue, season 2, episode 2. Joe Take 12, Firefly. So if you like the character Firefly, be here next week. I'll be in the chat. It'll be a premiere, and we got a Joe Take next week, but it's a reissue. So Jess, it's life. I'm getting used to it, and I shouldn't be. That's the sad part. But it is what it is. Now, tomorrow night on From the Hill, I'll be reading Endless Quest book, Jess. So I will be here for a while on From the Hill. I'll be over there. I'm not going anywhere different, but I'm just going to be on a different channel. You should incorporate the show Firefly with the character. Now, that's interesting, Jess, but they have nothing in common, really. Firefly is a saboteur. The show Firefly is the name of the ship, and I love that show. And never the twain shall meet, really. I mean, Firefly would not work out in the Firefly crew. Oh, we got somebody on the camera behind. I believe it's a Ben elbow. So we had a Ben cameo. All right. And then Friday, Tiger and I haven't watched it yet, but we'll be talking about Enter the Dragon, and I do have a copy on DVD and or Blu-ray. It's a really nice deluxe set, so I've got to find it. We still haven't started everything. We've had a lot to do around here. Jess says hi, Ben. I think Ben took off already, but thank you, Jess. I appreciate you being here. Thank you, Cool Gamer. You guys are awesome, always here for me, and I try to be here for you, and I appreciate it. And hopefully this weekend we'll have a couple of games. Sunday, Isle of Dragonhead on From the Hilt, and Monday, it looks like we're doing Blackjack Platoon, which Jess plays and Jess loves playing. So that's where we're at. And on that note, Logan out, my friends. We'll see you next time.
Logan's room full of Joe Take dreams. Crimson Guard with eyes on the team. Snake Eyes silent and mean, but tough to rile. Roadblock rhymes and cooks with style. Duke as the first shirt, making with a plan. Cobra Commander schemes with his clan. Scarlet Sharp hits hard, flips fast. Destro's armor gleams from the past. Logan's G.I. Joe takes fierce and honest view. Red versus blue, it's up to you. Stay a while and listen for the consumerism. Logan's G.I. Joe's takes given with enthusiasm. Zartan shifting sneaks in disguise. Storm Shadow's blade cut through lies. Baron is cold with her deadly aim. Shipwreck laughs, wins the game. Doc's healing hand in the fray. Flint's shotgun clears the way. Major Blood's battle cry echoes near. General Hawk leads, we cheer. From the hilt on YouTube, tune in for a day. Joe Takes to help you with your play. Let's put these characters to the test. Logan's the G.I. Joe gamer, plays it best. Joe, Cobra, let's go. Let's go. Logan's G.I. Joe takes fierce and honest view. Red